Welcome to episode 25 of Believe in TCU as part of the Believe Network. I'm Zion Trammell, and joining me today is Seth Dowdle. Got a loaded football episode for you all here today. We'll be talking transfer portal news, what's been going on with the Horned Frogs in the transfer portal, as well as the bowl game coming up here with Louisiana this weekend. It's right around the corner, so we'll be discussing that a little bit. We're just a couple days out from Christmas. Seth, are you a big Christmas guy?
Pumped for Christmas.
Yeah,
Pumped. There's no better time of the year, I guess. Uh, great sport. It's a great sports time too, around the holiday season and New Year's.
it is.
So if we want to tie that into this, then it's absolutely a great time, and I'm pumped for it.
Yeah, lots of stuff to look forward to. The thing I'm most excited about in the sports world is the New Mexico Bowl.
By
Come
far,
on now.
no question, no question. The New Mexico Bowl, even before TCU was selected, the New Mexico Bowl had it circled on the
Yep.
calendar, was ready for it. So whenever TCU was going to Albuquerque, I was like, let's go.
Yep.
Um, we are being very facetious here. This is
Very,
not
very.
something that we are. I mean, I'm looking forward to watching TCU play another game, but I wish it was in a different location and in a different
I
bowl game.
I wish that as well. It'll be the New Mexico Bowl taking on the Louisiana Ragin' Cajuns on Saturday, December 28th at 1:15 Central Time on ESPN. The Horned Frogs are currently 12 and a half point favorites. Louisiana's had a lot of players enter the transfer portal. Um, TCU hasn't had as many, but it's I guess Seth, we'll start with what are your expectations for this bowl game coming up here against Louisiana?
Um, win. That's the goal, I guess. That's the set. That's the baseline expectation. It's really a lose though situation because you win, that's expected, and if you lose, then that's a really bad thing that's happened. And you don't want to end your season like that. But expectation is to go out there and win. How that's going to happen, I have no idea because these bowl games are really tough to look at, and really, it's just a lot of vibes because TCU's two best offensive weapons will not be playing in this game. Jack Besh and Savion Williams are both sitting this out. Um, but the rest, besides people that are transferring out, seems to be intact. And we'll talk about this in a little bit, but there's not a lot of outgoing transfers that are very impactful for TCU, at least as it pertains to the New Mexico Bowl, I should say. When it becomes, as it pertains to next season, there are some, but as it pertains to the New Mexico Bowl, no, not a lot. The biggest news is that Savion Williams and Jack Besh are not playing. And how does that impact the offense? I have no idea. Negatively, for sure. It's not a good thing. But doesn't impact their ability to win against Louisiana, who also has a lot of key pieces not playing either because they're going to opt out or they're transferring. I don't know. TCU, even without those two guys, is better than Louisiana and should go out there and win. And the spread suggests that.
They should absolutely take care of business. I totally respect the decision, especially for Jack Besh, but also for Savion Williams to not play in this game. But sorry, my dogs are distracting me there for a second. But yeah, I totally understand the decision for them to not want to, play in this game. But I'm definitely interested to see what some of the younger guys are able to do. Could see a lot more of Eric McAllister, could see possibly Jordan Bailey, couple other guys that could be involved. And very curious to see what kind of the future of TCU could look like.
Yeah, and that's what a lot of these bowl games like this are kind of set up to be mini tryouts for the next season. Obviously, we've seen some of those guys that you just mentioned a lot, and like Jordan Bailey, we've seen him some, and um, Jeremy Payne is someone else who's probably going to get an elevated role in this game, just because Cam Cook is transferring out. Um, so yeah, it's just those types of guys where you get to see what it's made of. I'm interested to see, and this is a little bit of a kind of galaxy brain way to look at this game. Interested to see how Josh Hoover and the other receivers that come and play in this game gel together. and see what Josh is like without Savion and Jack Besh as kind of a safety blanket. See if he's
That's
still got
true.
the juice. I think he does. He obviously has made some really good throws, but those are some two fantastic wide receivers that certainly help a quarterback statistically and just in every aspect. So interested to see how that plays out. But yeah, as we both mentioned, the end goal here and the expected goal is to go out and win against Louisiana and to just pick up a bowl win, pick up a ninth win, and head into 2025 with some momentum.
Yeah, and the season on a good note. I think the defense with Andy Avalos was starting to pick up a little bit of momentum as the season came to an end. I don't know if there's too many significant players that aren't playing in this game, but certainly should be fun to see if the defense can um, step up and you know carry that over to 2025. That's kind of just the theme of this game is like this season could have been a lot worse. It was okay. You're managed to salvage a bowl game. So let's get this end this season on a dub and go from there.
I mean, yeah, it also could have been a lot better too. So you can look at it that way as well.
Yeah.
But, and this is how I will end my TCU, like it when I like, because the bowl game, the result of it doesn't change how I looked at the regular season. It doesn't change how I looked at that. 8-4. Somehow, some way, TCU still finish with the exact same or a better record than Texas A&M. Everything comes back to the median.
That is funny. That is very funny. Do you want to do a score prediction for this game?
We can try. I don't. I have very little
I'm
confidence in it.
scrambling in my head trying to come up with one right now. Um,
Um, I think it'll be easier to predict the attendance of this game than it would be to predict the score.
Not a lot of people, I imagine, will be attending this game.
No, another thing that's sad about this game, about when it is and where it is. Apparently, the team is leaving on Christmas Day to go to Albuquerque.
Oh man,
I know they were already going to be practicing though, so it's not like they were missing out on
family time.
family time. They were already going to be practicing. That's why my take is that if you are not in the college football playoff, please put me in a bowl game before Christmas.
Hmm. Yeah, I would
Um,
I would be in that mindset as well.
yes, just as a coach, I want to be home.
Hmm. Yeah,
Um, Score though,
I got one.
you do
I got
okay.
one.
Hit
Yeah,
me with it.
I think TCU will win 31-14. I think this will be a sound win. Nothing that TCU should have to sweat about. Take care of business, and like you mentioned earlier, predicting these bowl games nowadays with the transfer portal and players opting out, it's so difficult to figure out how things are going to go because you know play a team has had the same players out there. Things have gone a certain way all season long, and then for the final game of the year, things are not that way at all. It's like a completely different team essentially. So, but I think TCU still has enough talent to outplay Louisiana.
Mm-hmm. I'll go TCU 35, Louisiana 17. So kind of the same point difference. And it is tough. You were exactly right to pick these games because it is like a totally different squad, particularly for teams like Louisiana or uh, or like a Marshall or like it's like these G5 teams who have these really good players and then they all immediately get poached once the season is over by either better G5 teams or P4 teams. And that's what really sucks about the transfer portal, in my opinion. Um, it's really hard to build up programs like Louisiana to be consistently good. Uh, even teams like TCU, right? We'll talk about this in a second, where it's really tough to build up a consistent winner because your players are essentially on 1 year contracts every single year, and then the highest bidder can take them over. But yes, it is tough. But not to brag on myself, but I am 12-3 in my bowl game picks so far this year.
Dang, you're on fire.
I'm on a let me count here.
You're on a
1, 2,
heater.
3, 4, 5, 6. I'm on a 8-game win streak since
Wow.
the Cure Bowl on Friday. I've been on a heater.
Nice. There you go. If you need any betting tips or who to pick, listen to Seth Dowdle, as he's got it.
It honestly was not hard. I just picked the favorites in the playoff games, and then that was not hard to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, TCU wins, covers the spread. We go into 25, and the expectation, I think, is Big 12 championship.
Absolutely. With a really talented recruiting class, and the future is I think can certainly be bright for TCU, and I'm looking forward to seeing some of the guys that can shape that future get some more playing time in this game against Louisiana. Like you said, Jeremy Payne and Jordan Bailey, those Eric McAllister. It'll be fun to watch some of those guys, and hoping for a TCU win. They will be I think the fourth Big 12 team to play in a bowl game. West Virginia already lost to Memphis in the Frisco Bowl, 42-37.
Yeah, Kansas State and Tech will have played by then.
And then we play on Saturday.
Yeah, the New Mexico Bowl is your Big 12 pregame show for the Pop-Tarts and Alamo Bowl, which are objectively much better games than what TCU will be playing in.
Much, much, much better, unfortunately. But yeah, next week we'll talk about our thoughts on the game, and maybe just kind of wrap up the 2024 season for TCU. But are you gonna say something?
Well, we'll wrap up football, and then there will probably be some major news that comes out about the football team 3 days later, and then all of a sudden we're talking about it again.
Yeah, all right, this will finish things up for football. 2 days later, okay, we're back. We got some big news, and a lot of that kind of has to do with the transfer portal. TCU football has done a pretty good job of keeping a lot of their guys. I think they were one of only a handful of teams that had, I think, under 10 players. I can't remember the graphic I saw, but they have been able to retain a lot of players. But we'll talk about some of the guys. We could do rapid fire, and then there's one player that we'll talk about that really is going to sting. But maybe we just do some rapid fire transferring out. Cam Cook, first Horned Frog to enter the portal this offseason.
Leading rusher, unfortunately, for TCU going away. And is this the only time where a team's leading rusher is transferring and everyone is like, this is fine?
Probably.
I mean, he ran for 460 yards this year. It's not it sucks that he did not live up to the potential that he had coming out of high school. And that is a running theme with Sonny Dykes recruits at TCU right now, which is unfortunate. And he had a lot of promise, and it really stinks that he couldn't find a fit here. But I'm excited about the future at the running back position, and hopefully next year is the year that we're finally able to crack that code when it comes to the running game. Ooh boy, have we been waiting a while.
We gotta figure it out. I miss you, Kendre Miller. All right, Dominique Johnson, 1 season in the program, really was not involved much in the offense at all. He's pretty much RB4. RB3.
I got nothing on Dominique Johnson. Best of luck, man.
Yep. This one does kind of suck. Shad Banks transferring to UTSA. I just liked him as a person. I got to, not speak to him personally, but just being at press conferences. Really nice guy, and he's been with the team for a while. So one of the few 2022 guys.
Yes, and he was the one who intercepted the pass in the Baylor game in 2021 to ruin Baylor's chance at a college football playoff berth. So Shad Banks is forever a frog for that. That's a top 15 moment TC football history probably. So, and Shad Banks is a part of it. How about that?
Yeah, and for me personally, it's top 5 because that was the first time I got to storm the field at TCU. I was in the student section. It was such a fun game. Chad Banks, TCU legend, go cook with UTSA.
That's a fun
Speaking
fit
of,
too. I like it.
yeah, it is. It is. Speaking of Cook, Terrence Cooks, 3 tackles on the season. As I'm
Uh,
reading this here,
my prediction of where he's going to land, I don't know.
I don't know.
Here's the thing about the transfer portal. Some of these guys aren't even going to land anywhere. I don't know if that's going to happen to any of TCU's guys, but that's the case for some of them.
Yeah. This one is kind of significant as well. James Brockermeyer, he was a center for TCU this season. He came in from Alabama, and he's headed back to the portal. That's somewhat significant, losing a starting offensive lineman. But
yeah, there seems to be some depth though at that certain position to bring someone in. It looks like he is like crystal balled to Miami for what it's worth.
Well, best of luck to him at possibly Miami. I want to give a quick shout out to JD Andrus. I'm reading his article on the TCU football transfer portal update. He's a writer for TCU Horned Frogs on SI, who I also write for them as well. So I want to give a shout out to JD. But we did have Jamel Johnson, but he came back to TCU, so he removed his name from the transfer portal. Yes, that is big as a young safety to have him come back. That's awesome.
Yes, that was one that was going to kind of sting because I thought he played pretty well this year, and glad that he's back. And I mean, he's a guy who's he's a young guy in the program. Continued to develop him into the system that Andy Avalos wants to run, and hopefully that continues to work out. The other one though that really sucks is it doesn't suck like too bad, but before the one that we're going to talk about, but JoJo Earl transferring is kind of sad.
It is.
He had so much promise, and it just didn't happen. Injuries suck.
Yep, injuries suck. Depth chart just wasn't enough opportunities for him.
Mm-hmm.
You graduated with him.
I did. I had no idea that he was. I completely forgotten that he existed, and then there he is, like 10 names after me.
Yeah. He entered the transfer portal the day of graduation.
Yeah, it was like a couple hours after.
Yeah, he got his diploma. He said, "All right, I'm out of here."
Yeah, Shad Banks though showed up. He entered the portal and he graduated. So shout out to him. Shout out Shad Banks. Continue Shad Banks. I mean, I really wish he could stay forever.
I know. He's will definitely be missed. But easily, probably the most significant player to enter the transfer portal, and this was the most recent one, is Haas Haney, quarterback. A lot of people felt like because of his family history with a lot of his family going to TCU that he was going to stick around, but he decided to enter the transfer portal, and barring something crazy, he's probably not going to come back and withdraw his name from the portal. Seth, what were your thoughts, reactions to Haas Haney entering the transfer portal?
Was very surprised. Obviously, as you mentioned, his parents both played in athletics at TCU. He's a local kid from Aledo. Would have thought that he would have been one to stay here for a long time. But also, that QB depth chart room is really stuffed. Hoover's back, and Hoover's got a couple more years left of eligibility, I think. Because I think he was redshirted. So I think he's got 2 more years. And then you got Adam Schobel is coming in as well, who's a promising state champion, just like Haas Haney was. And then, whatever else they fill it with, if there's a transfer or something like that. So it's really loaded. And I don't know if he saw a path to getting on the field consistently, although he was a pretty key piece at times in the offense as a running quarterback. But yeah, this kind of stinks. My fingers are crossed that he decides to withdraw his name and stay here, because it's always nice just to have depth at the QB position, and also to keep a guy in the program and develop him. But if he does go, best of luck to him. All I know is that I won a bet with a buddy of ours that he said that he would never take any snaps at QB for TCU, and boy did he! He took so many. He took like 7.
He was the leading rusher against Cincinnati, Hoss Haney.
I know.
He sure did. Um, yeah, I think this news is kind of like the harsh realities of the transfer portal. You think a guy's not going to leave. Like, yeah, he's got, a legacy at TCU, family ties to this university. There's no way he would ever leave. But like you mentioned, players are just all on 1-year contracts. They can leave at any point, and I totally understand the decision to leave. I definitely was a little surprised, but yeah, it's not an easy route for him to become the starting quarterback for TCU with Josh Hoover just finishing up his sophomore season and then Adam Schobel coming up, and he's got a lot of promise. So it's unfortunate news. I wish him nothing but the best, but it definitely helps to have depth at the quarterback position in case there is an emergency where Josh Hoover goes down. Kirk Herbstreit was kind of talking about that on the broadcast, I think, for the Ohio State game. It's really important to have depth, and it doesn't always exist in college football nowadays. And so, yeah, it sucks, but it is what it is, I guess.
Kirk Herbstreit said a lot about college football in the last couple of days, hasn't he?
He
Goodness.
did.
Okay. We're gonna have to talk about
That last like 8 minutes of the Ohio State Tennessee game, he was just like, "All right, I'm getting everything off my chest. This game's boring. I'm gonna go all in," and he sure did. But that could be a lot of that can be dissected.
We will not right here because this is about Hoss Haney.
Yeah.
Yeah, best of luck to him. I don't know where he fits in. I think he's pretty good based on what we saw. Now, obviously, his ability as a passer is not fully fleshed out, at least in game action. But as a runner, he certainly is. He kind of reminds me. He's the reason I was like kind of really excited about him at TCU is he kind of reminds me of KJ Jefferson a lot in his style of play. And we saw what Kendall Briles was able to do with KJ Jefferson at Arkansas, and like a bigger body guy who's able to kind of barrel his way down. Like that's kind of what Hosseini is. And then you just kind of scheme up guys open for him. I thought that would work really well. And unfortunately, maybe he didn't think it would, or he just thinks there's a better opportunity elsewhere. So that's what's really unfortunate for this for me, because I really thought there was a path for a successful offensive unit with him and Kendall Briles, just because I'd seen that proven in the past.
That's a very good point. Unfortunate, we probably will not see that realized, but that is all of the players that have entered the transfer portal for now. We'll see what else happens. We'll talk quickly. I think I'm not sure how knowledgeable you are about the incoming transfers. Me personally, I don't really know anything. So I know the numbers, and there is one player that I saw I was actually excited about. But first, we got Joseph Manjack, the fourth, transferring from Houston. He's a wide receiver, started 11 games, and was second on the team in receiving yards. Do you know?
My analysis on this is that Houston fans were very sad to see him go. So that is hopefully a good sign.
It is significant. It's really important for TCU because with this transfer portal to really get after the wide receivers, because you're losing Besh, you're losing Savion Williams, and you're losing JP Richardson. So you're losing your top 3 wide receivers next season. But with the seasons that all those 3 guys had, it might be encouraging, and we've kind of seen that a little bit where TCU's been able to get some wide receivers because we saw those guys put up productive numbers with Josh Hoover. It's like, hey, I want to get in on that and team up with Hoover. So, good sign.
Yeah, a lot of good offensive production. Actually, only never mind. No, I'm sorry. I don't know why I saw that. They took one safety, but like 5 of the 6 of their transfers so far on the offensive side of the ball.
That's awesome.
That's interesting.
Oops, I lost it.
Want to talk about Jordan Dwyer?
Yeah, there's some other players. Kylan Jackson, defensive back from LSU, could be awesome. But yeah, let's talk about Jordan Dwyer, wide receiver from Idaho, one of the more highly coveted wide receivers in the transfer portal, and TCU was able to snag him just a couple days ago. He had 78 catches, 1,192 yards, and 12 touchdowns for Idaho. This could be a really big piece for the TCU offense next season.
Yeah, and as we just mentioned, as you're looking to replace that wide receiver production, yes, you can look to within with guys like Eric McAllister, but you also have to go look outside because that's what you were successful with at least J.P. Richardson and Jack Bash, and so you're hoping that maybe Jordan Dwyer, Joseph Manjek IV, Kamarion Pimpton, who we'll talk about in a second, who's from LSU at tight end, can help add to that wide receiver core and continue to supplement the offense in a productive way. Because all we're looking for right now is just give Josh Hoover some guys because he's going to be able to make the throws like 80% of the time. I say that because sometimes Josh Hoover goes a little whoopsie daisy mode, but like 80% of the time on a good day for Josh Hoover, he's going to give it to him, and they just got to catch it and they got to go. And so that's what we're looking for here. And I think that with the 3 pass catchers that TCU has snagged in this portal window so far, we're on the right track.
Definitely on the right track. I love this move for TCU. They beat out USC and Washington. Those were the other schools interested and were competing for them. So I'm super happy. Look, you need as many options as possible in your offense. You're going to have injuries. You're going to need other guys to step up. And I mean, this isn't really a depth move. This is a guy that can be your number 1 wide receiver for the Horned Frogs next season. So I love this move. I think it's a tremendous get for TCU, and I think fans are really going to like him next season, and will certainly help replace some of the numbers and stats that you're going to lose, and value that you're going to lose with those 3 guys that I mentioned before that are all leaving and moving on. But yeah, pretty interesting start here for TCU in the transfer portal. You wanted to talk about someone else though?
No, I think that's about it. I do want to talk a little bit about how they stack up compared to the rest of the Big 12, and that really doesn't anyone else. I mean, they've only taken 6, which is toward the lower end of the conference. Some other schools have taken upwards of 17, and that's Texas Tech. And Texas Tech has kind of been now, obviously, you can take it for what you will in terms of rankings for transfers. I don't really, it's not a complete science. I'd argue it's easier than a high school rating for sure, because you already have, like, for most of them, college plays behind them, but a lot of highly touted transfers coming in for Tech that a lot of other big time Power 4 schools were aiming at, that Tech has been able to get. So that is something to keep an eye out for as we head into 2025. How does this revamp for Texas Tech stack up against the rest of the conference?
It'll be interesting to see, because Baylor also had a really strong end to the season, and a lot of people are kind of predicting that they could have a really good season next year. And Texas Tech, I've just seen this. I don't know the history of recruiting for Texas Tech, but they always haven't been the best at recruiting. So they decided we're going to hit the transfer portal, and they've done a really good job. They've added a ton of talent, and this could certainly be a situation where we're monitoring next season, as Texas Tech could be significantly better next season if these players pan out. Obviously, it's a lot of talent coming in.
Mm-hmm.
How you got to group them all together is going to be interesting to see, and a lot of things that that coaching staff will have to do. But
yeah, and it's the top transfer class in the Big 12. It's the top transfer class in the country right now.
Whoa, I didn't know it was that good. Oh my goodness,
it's pretty good. It's Texas Tech, and then 7 SEC schools right behind them.
Uh-oh.
Now, here's the deal. We've seen this, though. It's so volatile how you perform with the transfer portal roster. Let's look at this, right? Colorado is a big-time transfer portal roster this year, right? They go from 4-8 last year with a transfer portal roster to 9-3 this year. Big swing. Florida State, 13-0 or 13-1. I'm sorry, we just kind of forget about that Orange Bowl, but 13-1 last year. Big time transfer portal roster. They try to revamp with the portal this year, and they go 2-10. So it's like such a wide, variety of outcomes that you can get with a roster that you bring in from the outside instead of developing, as the years go on, like other schools that are more successful, like Georgia and Alabama and whatnot, right? That are more consistent. So it'll be interesting because next year it could go really well or it could go really poorly, and I don't really know if there's an in between. I don't know if a 6-6 is possible for Tech next year. I feel like it's like a 3-9 or like we're winning the conference.
Hopefully it's 3-9. Hopefully.
And that's why I'm encouraged that, yes, TCU isn't taking a lot of transfers, but hopefully that means that they're really confident with what they have in house.
They haven't gotten a lot of transfers, but they haven't lost a lot of guys. And I think that's the more important thing is they believe. The players in this program believe in Sonny Dykes. They believe what they're doing and the direction that they're heading in. And so now you just hope that, okay, you're keeping these guys. Now these guys have to elevate their game next season and that TCU can be in those talks for a Big 12 championship. I certainly think they can. But I do think they'll need to address a few needs in the transfer portal. But there's still time. There's still a lot of time for that to happen. The college football season isn't even over yet, and we're talking about the transfer portal. I think that's really dumb how it's – I mean, we could talk about this for an hour, how weird the transfer portal is and the timing of it. But
yeah, well, yes, we'll have National Signing Day was on December 3rd, and then the portal opened the day after the conference championship games, and then the playoffs. There's players on playoff teams that are transferring but are still on the roster and still are playing.
Yeah.
It's
Ohio State's backup quarterback is transferring, and he played it was meaningless. It was garbage time, but he was on the field in a college football playoff game. It's so bizarre.
We were sitting there during SMU Penn State debating or not whether Preston Stone, who had committed to Northwestern the day before, was going to come in and try and lead a comeback for SMU.
That's true. Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's wild. College football it's had so many changes and just it's crazy. But yeah, I think that'll pretty much wrap things up here, talking transfer portal news, and we'll certainly provide updates and our thoughts if something big happens with the Horned Frogs. But for now, we move to Saturday, where they will take on Louisiana in the New Mexico Bowl. And then later on in the week, we'll be discussing TCU women's and men's basketball as they prepare for Big 12 play, and two teams that are going in complete opposite directions. But so that'll be fun to discuss, but still looking forward to it.
Yeah, it should be a good time. Make sure to tune in for the dichotomy of basketball teams on Wednesday or on Thursday, because oh boy, conference play starting, and I have a lot of thoughts for one team and like almost zero thoughts for the other.
It should be fun. But thank you for tuning in to this episode of Believe in TCU. You can follow us on Instagram at Believe in TCU, subscribe to our YouTube page, or listen to us wherever you get your podcasts, all at Believe in TCU. So for Seth Dowdle, I'm Zion Trammell. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you guys next time. And as always, go Frogs.